America.
Welcome to the Costa Mesa Pettis Perspective. My name is Jeff Pettis, and this is the 25th episode. And tonight we're going to be talking about the council meeting. Feels like I just did a video because I did a special edition last week. But this is related to the council meeting from the 18th yesterday, Tuesday. The city council is now back in Zoom only. Unfortunately, I enjoy going there and seeing what's going on in person. So what we're going to focus on tonight is the public hearing number 1, the housing element update. This is one of 2 public hearings that are going to take place. The first one being last night, related to the final draft of the housing element. And what I wanted to just kind of say ahead of time or up front is this is when I'm talking about the housing element and Measure Y, I am definitely not trying to disparage the process, the people involved, or the actual element itself, because I know it needs to be done by law, and it's a very important function of the city. And I in particular mentioned Ms. Lee and Mr. Chen. There's a lot of hard work, all the staff and council involved. They put a lot of work into this, and there's a lot of concern for the city, and it's all good. And so I don't want to send the message like I'm hating on that process. I'm not. I understand that there's a lot that goes into it, a lot that needs to be done. And for the purposes, so again, my issue is not with the housing element. It's obviously something we need to do, and my issue isn't with Measure Y for or against either. I really think that there's equal cases to be made on either side of the debate. My issue with this whole process, and I'm going to focus in on the ad hoc committee for the housing element and Measure Y, is the lack of transparency in the process when it comes to Measure Y, and it's really the 6-1 majority of the council. It's really a subversion of the will of the people. That's my main focus. This particular council, with some exceptions, likes to rule with a heavy hand, not interested in really taking into consideration the will of the voters. That's what I've seen so far, and that's my problem with this whole process, specifically related to the ad hoc committee and Measure Y. I'm not saying that I think the council is pretty authoritarian in the way they behave, but let's get into it a little bit here. So the housing element was put forward, and I took a little bit of criticism last time because I think I sent the message that on the housing element response from the Housing and Community Development, they call it HCD. They're the people that we send the housing element to, and we get the response back. They wanted some revisions. I made it sound like the council was insinuating that Measure Y was the only negative related to the housing element draft, and it was one of them. And there was some people were saying, well, all the other things you mentioned that you read off on the response letter were just fluff. They went over last night all the things that they had to do in response, and there was a lot of research and a lot of data and a lot of responding they had to do to get the housing element into the final draft stage. So there was a lot more than just Measure Y. But I understand that Measure Y is really the only thing that I guess the council itself can focus on to actually fix or amend in their eyes. So we're going to focus in on Measure Y. What happened, they went through the whole housing element, and in the concluding section of the final draft presentation was Mayor Pro Tem Andrea Marr's report out on the ad hoc committee. Ad hoc committee was formed to look at the housing element and Measure Y specifically. And so we had the first ad hoc committee meeting last time I did a video on. So this time she was reporting out on where they are with things, and they were complimentary to how many people were on the call and how last time, and how much the community is involved and how much the citizens care. And so it started off well, because my fear was, hey, they're going to try and get around the process somehow and do some sort of trick to get Measure Y amended on their own without any feedback or voting. So it started off well. Mayor Pro Tem Marr said, this is a quote, "We will consider some We will consider some from the Measure Y modification for the upcoming November ballot. So to me, that basically, she had left it there, I would have been good. They want to amend Measure Y. They want to get Measure Y done or vacated. Then the voters need to vote it out on their own. So she was saying in the very beginning of this report that they were going to, any modifications were going to be considered for the November ballot coming up in 2022. And it quickly went downhill from there. And I'm gonna read some quotes. These are quotes, either direct quotes from what was said on the council members had a chance to speak after Andrea Marr had said that. And next up was Jeff Harlan. His quote was, "There are many reasons for amending Measure Y other than the response to the housing element from the HCD." So that must have triggered something in Andrea Marr. So she had taken what she had originally said was, any changes we plan to make is going to be on the November ballot. I'm going to read you her next quote. She said, "I cannot envision in my head, and maybe somebody in the public can inform me on this and explain to me how I am wrong. I cannot envision putting the visual that I have in a couple of paragraphs on text on the ballot, right? I can't get my head around how we talk about protected bike lanes, multi and mixed-use, vibrant corridor in Harbor, Placentia, Newport Boulevard. How do we talk about all of these things on a blurb that gets voted on?" That was her question. So she was basically, in one statement, saying that she was taking away the full intent of Measure Y, and she was making the claim that her vision for the city of Costa Mesa, good or bad, but it's her vision, all the things that she wants to happen and all the developing that she wants to see, regardless of what the people think, she can't envision having to make that case to the people through Measure Y on the ballot. And I would submit to you that I think that she absolutely can if she wants to. She needs to start working now and putting her case forward along with the other council members and anybody else who want to amend Measure Y, make the case now and figure out a way to put it for it on the ballot so it's understandable and readable by the public and they can vote yes or no. If you make a good enough case and enough people are with you on that, they're going to vote your amendments in or vote that Measure Y be repealed. So that was alarming to me that she had said that. It kind of went even more downhill from there. Chavez just jumped in next. He said, related to Measure Y, the reason I voted for it, his quote was, I was just scared of gentrification. Meaning, when 2016, when it was originally voted in, the fear from this side of the time in favor of Measure Y was they're going to display. He didn't want to be displaced. They're going to displace a lot of people on the west side and make it prettier. And he was afraid of gentrification. He pretty much left it out. He's like, I'm still afraid of gentrification. So he was kind of rambling. Then Arliss Reynolds came in and she said 2016 Measure Y came about because of the loss of trust in local government. This is what Arliss said. And then Andrea Marr just kind of looked at her and then she said, I would vote again for Measure Y. Interesting. So there's a very frustrated council right now, and I actually am happy. I think there's a healthy tension that needs to take place in any governing body on any side. You have right now you have a council that governs and wants to get things through their way, the way they want to do it, regardless of who voted for them. I think it was summed up pretty well by one of the final public comment was directed at Jeff Harlan from a woman. Forgive me, I don't remember her name. I didn't write that down. She said, "We trusted you, Jeff Harlan." She didn't say Jeff Harlan. She was addressing him. "We trusted you enough to put you in office. You speak in a way that suggests only you can be trusted to make decisions for the city. You do not trust us. The citizens want to participate in the process." And Jeff's body language was he did not like that, and he was dismissive of it. And you could tell, just to me, words are words. Body language speaks clearer than words oftentimes. So that's kind of where I'm at with why I promised I would stop talking about Measure Y a long time ago, but it keeps coming up. And it is not about Measure Y. It's not about the housing element. To me, it's about the attitude put forth by our leaders on the city council in Costa Mesa, that they want to do things the way they want to do them, and regardless of what the people think. To me, that's backwards. It's the people that voted them in. Measure Y was voted in by the people. It needs to be amended or repealed by the people. And the council, if they don't like it, they need to make a better case to the people. and govern in a way that is good for all parties. So more to come. And the important thing is be good to each other, be kind to yourself first. Together we can get it done, and bye for now.